There are some nights that stay with you longer than the darkness itself.
Not because of what you saw, but because of what you felt after. The screen went black, the quiet that followed, the way the room seemed slightly different. The way a shadow in the corner of your eye refused to become a shape when you turned to look at it. I spent
3 weeks watching analog horror series. Not the famous ones. Not the ones that appear in every video essay or reaction video. I went looking for the ones that get mentioned in passing. The ones with low view counts. And quiet comment sections. The ones that feel like they were made for
a small audience. Maybe they were. Maybe they were made for one person. And somehow, I think that person might be me. The first series is
called The Static House. It presents itself as a collection of home videos
from the late 1990s, recovered from a singled house in a suburban neighborhood that no longer exists on any map. The footage is mundane at first. A birthday party. A dog barking at the fence. A child blowing out candles. Kind of memory we all have stored somewhere. But as the episodes progress, the same house appears in different seasons, different years, different lighting conditions, and yet the same objects remain in the same positions. The same cup, and the same table, the same towel hanging from the same hook. 10 years of footage, and nothing ever changes. Except for one thing. In the background, always at the edge of the frame, there is a figure standing in the hallway. It never moves. It never looks at the camera. It just stands there, watching the Hispanic family live their lives. And in every single tape, the family never acknowledges it. They walk past it. They close. Doors in front of it. They eat dinner with their backs to it.
as if the figure is not there. As if the figure is part of the furniture, but the figure is not furniture, it has hands. And the figure is no longer standing, it is sitting in a chair, facing the camera, smiling. That detail matters, because the figure was never seen
sitting before, it was always standing. That change means it can change. It is not a static feature of the house. It is something that responds.
Something that waited until the camera turned around. The second series is called
The Glass Archive. It is structured as a series of training videos for
museum archivists, filmed in the early 2000s. The setting is a vast storage facility filled with glass display cases, each containing objects from different historical periods.
The narrator is calm, professional, explaining how to handle artifacts, how to control
temperature and humidity. But there is a problem with the audio. Beneath the narrator's voice, at a very low volume, there is a second voice. is not a translation. It is not a production error. It is a conversation happening somewhere else in the facility, being picked up by the microphone.
The conversation is between two people who seem unaware they are being recorded.
They are discussing an object that does not match any catalog. Something they had call the mirror that does not reflect. They talk about the strange thing
It does to people who look into it. They describe how visitors to the archive begin to see themselves differently afterward. Not physically, emotionally, as if.
the mirror shows them what they are afraid of becoming. The narrator continues.
Speaking about humidity control, but the background conversation becomes more urgent. One voice says,
It is not a mirror. It is a door. Then the training video ends.
I could not find any other tapes from this archive. But I found
A forum post from 2006 where someone claimed to have visited the facility.
They said the mirror was no longer in the archive. It had been moved
To a house. A house in a suburban neighborhood that no longer exists on any map. The third series is called DEE Last Broadcast. It is
The shortest of the three, only 4 episodes. It appears to be a public access television program from a small town in the Midwest, airing late at night. The host is a middle-aged man with a calm voice, and he introduces what he calls night signals, faint transmissions picked up by local radio towers. He plays recordings of these signals. They sound like static, but if you listen closely, you can hear rhythms underneath the noise. Patterns. Not quite music, not quite speech. In the second episode, he explains that signals have been appearing for 40 years. Always on the same frequency.
always at the same time of night. The previous hosts of the show
had tried to decode them. They had transcribed the patterns into numbers.
Then letters, then fragments of words. The host displays a whiteboard covered in
These transcriptions. At the top, written in red marker, is a single line.
The house remembers everyone who lived there. I paused the video there.
Because I had seen that line before. In the first series. Written on the back of a photograph. The photograph of a child blowing out candles.
photograph of a house that no longer exists. The theory I arrived at is not a comfortable one. I do not think these 3 series
were created independently. I think they are connected by something larger, something that uses analog media as a way to communicate across time. The house in
the first series, the mirror in the second series, the radio signal in the third series, they are all the same thing. They are all a
single phenomenon that takes different forms depending on how it is observed.
It is not a ghost. It is not a demon. It is a
System of memory that does not forget. And it does not forget because
it is still active. It is still recording. There is a moment
third series that changed everything for me. In the final episode,
the host receives a letter from a viewer. The viewer claims to have
lived in the suburban house when they were a child. They describe the figure
in the hallway. They describe how their family never talked about it.
They describe how, after they moved away, the figure began appearing in their dreams. And then, in a line that made me close my laptop for an hour,
they wrote, "The figure is not haunting the house. The figure is haunting
people who left. It follows you home." I think that line is the key, because it shifts the horror from a location to something far.
More intimate. If the figure follows you, then the figure is not attached
To the building was just the place where it learned you. And once it knows you, it does not need the building anymore.
The most disturbing part is not the footage itself. The most disturbing part is the silence after the footage ends. The feeling that you have been seen. Not by the characters on screen. By the creator. By whoever made these series.
Because they knew you would find them. They left clues in each video.
Small inconsistencies that only become visible if you watch them in the right order. And I did. The final tape of THE Static House contains a single
frame of white noise. It lasts less than a second. If you pause at the exact frame, the white noise resolves into an image. A photograph.
A photograph of a house. The same house. But in this image,
the front door is open, and standing in the doorway is a figure.
And the figure is holding a camera. And the camera is pointed at you. This is not a story about 3 scary series. This is a story about a system that knew it was being watched and started watching back.
At the beginning, I thought I was analyzing fiction. Analyzing fiction. I thought I was exploring creative works made by talented artists. And I still believe that is true.
But I also believe that something else is happening. Something that the creators
themselves may not fully understand. Something that uses the shape of analog horror to hide itself in plain sight. Because the scariest thing about these series
is not what they show, it is the fact that they are still
being updated. New uploads, new channels, new footage, always from different creators.
Always with the same hidden details. Always with the same figure in the hallway.
I do not know who is making them. I do not know if
they are working together, or if they are being influenced by something outside
and themselves. But I know this,
The house no longer exists on any map. But it still exists in the tapes. And the tapes keep arriving. And maybe the question is not who is making them. Maybe the question is why you were the one to find them. Maybe the figure in
The hallway is not waiting for a house.
Maybe it was always waiting for a viewer.
Completed.